You know, a lot of my brothers are dead and gone, but they've been hanging on the block a little too long.
All right, the live link is about to go up to Facebook.
And the ones that are doing fine, God bless you because you're doing
Got a
fine.
notification?
At the end of the day, don't forget about me. As days turn to weeks and weeks turn to years, oh, I feel for my brother. And as time passes by, I see him not satisfied. Oh, I feel for my brother. Feel for my brother. The street life used to be on. Straight up hustling till the break. Yeah, happy Valentine's Day to everybody. We're just getting things set up. We're here though. Just give me a hot second. We're giving you time to share. And we're gonna punch the button in a minute. You couldn't see what I saw. The empire was starting to fall. And everything that I said never seemed to get into your head. I tried to do the right thing, living my life with the words that I sing. Now tell me, I wanted to know what happened to my best friend. As days turn to weeks and weeks turn to years, I feel for my brother. Feel for my brother. And as time passes by, I see you're not satisfied. Oh, I feel for my brother. Feel for my brother. I miss you, man.
You know what you could do? Send it as a text to people.
You're my brother. I said I love you, babe. I won't forget you, no.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna hit the button and we're gonna go live. We're already live. I see the chat room's already buzzing. A lot of stuff going on.
Can you hear me? Life is real, yeah.
All right, y'all. Here we go. And once again, this is another edition of the NYCHA Show. Incredible. Let me tell you something. Incredible things happened this week. Waves were moved, walls were knocked down, things were created. It was really, really, really an awesome week for the NYCHA and the NYCHA family. You know, a lot of stuff went on, and it was so dope. Make sure you do your shares. We have a special guest on today, and that's going to be incredible. This is going to be a big hour, y'all. So you want to make sure you'll punch in as soon as humanly possible, because once we get it started, you all know the show just goes. There's going to be a lot happening. Yeah. I'm cracking the mic, y'all.
1 2 1 2 1 2.
Yes, sir. Stan Morris, you in the building?
I'm in the building.
Saundrea Coleman, are you in the building?
I'm in the house.
Mike Jones, you in the building?
Brother Mike Jones is here.
Brother Mike Jones is here. Yes, yes,
Hey,
yes.
family.
Word up. A lot going on.
Excited about our guests.
Yes,
Man,
absolutely.
This is going to be tremendous. I'm so excited. All right, let me just see what's going on this side. And stop. Yes, y'all. So once again, welcome to the NYCHA Show. We do this every day, every Sunday at 4 o'clock, from 4 to 5 o'clock. And we talk about everything that is NYCHA. Everything that is NYCHA we talk about on this program. And sometimes we do, you know, it moves around, right? Because one time we talked about basketball, and basketball is a big part of NYCHA.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And another time we and then we talk about the problems in houses that go on and in apartments and stuff, and that's part of NYCHA too. You know, and the objective really, or the programs that we've been doing, is not to show that NYCHA is all bad. You know, some good things come out of NYCHA.
Some good people. Some good people.
And some good people come out of NYCHA. So it's always nice to do that. This week was a really big week for NYCHA, as we were able to moderate and produce the mayoral candidate for New York City, the mayoral candidate
forum,
yeah, right? Because
yeah.
It wasn't like it was really a debate.
It wasn't a debate,
right? They weren't really going after each other like that. And I heard a lot of the back talk before we actually went on, and they were just kind of talking to each other and just kind of chopping up and laughing, which was dope, And then when they got on, they just there was an elegance to it. You know what I'm saying? It was just, we're not going to chop each other down. We're just going to talk about the issues. Right. We're going to talk about NYCHA. And it was big, and big shout out to 700 Strong that put it together. Big shout out to Occupy NYCHA. Big shout out to Claudia Perez, who moderated it. Big shout out to Alex, who helped to put it together, and all those guys that really came in. Big shout out to my man, who's the cameraman? Gary Film. It was big, and a lot of work went into it, and it really paid off, and I'll tell you why. Because it was something people had never seen before. They had never seen the candidates are all in the forum. They're all on Zoom, but the audience is live. So they were interacting with the audience live, and that was really dope. So that was a big night on Thursday night, and we're gonna do more of that stuff, and that was wonderful. Saundrea Coleman, what is going on this week?
Lots going on. Life is good as always. Still doing the norm. Looking out for senior residents and working on getting a list of residents, seniors, and people that are in need of food for the Isaac Center. So shout out to them. They're having these deliveries done. I'm chopping up. I don't know why.
And talk loud.
I'm close as I can be.
But talk louder.
Talk louder. Yeah. Okay. So, but yeah, so everything is good. I'm going to be on the State of the District with my council member next week, Sunday. I will be singing the national anthem.
Oh, okay. We got to record that.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it'll come out. It'll be virtual anyway. So, but I was there also last year. I read a poem. So yeah. So just getting that done. And let me just do this. So we, the co-founders, Mike, Rock, Stan, and myself, Saundrea, are collectively considering expanding our brand. Any additions or changes to our One NYCHA show will be officially brought to our viewership by one of us on this show. We are not just co-hosts, we are co-founders as well as equal stakeholders. So other than that, all is well. Shout out to all the NYCHA residents. I hope everyone is doing well. I know it's been rough with people with lack of heat and hot water. My elevator has been broken, one of them for 2 days now. Wow. So still waiting on them to fix that. There's no sign up there. But yeah, we just continuing to fight the fight and, do what we got to do in the community.
Right on. Stan Moss, what's the deal, baby?
Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to Sugar Ray, Miles, Irene from Queensbridge, also Ariel. We've been giving out heaters the past 2 weeks for people that don't have heat. Yeah. So we delivered heaters in Astoria houses. We delivered them in Queensbridge. I just got a text from Monica Morales this morning. They said there's no heat in Woodside. Wow. So we'll probably be out there with Monica tomorrow at 11 to address that issue and really get some heat to these people. It's a shame. You have senior citizens actually in apartments that are freezing, and you literally letting people die in their apartments, so it's out of control. How many apartments around the city don't have heat in NYCHA? And also want to make an announcement for my campaign. I'm running now as an independent.
Ooh.
So definitely not running as a Democrat, not running as a Republican. I'm running as an independent because I believe Democrats and Republicans have sold us out. So we're going to create a new party called the New Independence Progressive Party.
Nice. Congratulations. Okay.
And we're gonna shock the city. So you're gonna learn more about that and really make a change for New York City as a whole.
Wow.
Yeah, the idea is about doing something new.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's a new way of doing business. Mike Jones.
Ooh, can I just step in? I just want to announce we have our intern here today. She's not going to be on camera yet, but you all will meet her, and we're looking forward to her. Shout out to Queens College for just giving us another intern. So welcome aboard. She's in the studio with us. Y'all will see her soon. Not today, but soon.
What's her name?
I have it. I don't want to mess it up.
What's your name, girl?
Say it again. Nakama. Okay. All right.
I didn't
want to mess it up the way it looks like it reads. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, Mike Jones, what's up?
Well, you know, I was over there at the mayor forum as well. And also at home, there's always making complaints with this NYCHA, like always. You know, I'm tired of complaining, but, you know, it seemed like there's nothing else to do. First it was the toilet, and then it was the tub, and then it was the mailbox, and now it's the heat, like always.
Wow.
I mean, sometimes I get too much heat, sometimes I don't get no heat at all. Now it sounds like it's steam coming out of it, but you don't see no steam at all. I don't know. I don't want the thing to blow on me, you know?
I got you.
You rapping. That is the
Good, you
other
know what I'm
Mike
saying?
Jones.
That's Mike Jones. You
That's the
rapping.
other Mike Jones.
We heard you rapping. All right, so
It's time.
It's time. So you know what? It's time to get it going. Dr. Fields, we are welcoming you to the show.
Yes, welcome.
We're so glad to have you.
Welcome.
Very much. Good to be with you.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
Saundrea, go.
So she's going to introduce herself, but Dr. Fields is a phenomenal woman, an activist, physician. She's an activist for public housing, interested, of course, in fighting to keep public housing public with NYCHA. She's going to tell you about that. Affiliated with Dr. Lenora Falani, if you know her, or the All-Stars. She just does phenomenal work, and she's also very instrumental in the fight for the independents, you know. So she's a phenomenal woman, and just being a physician. So she's gonna, you know, discuss disparities probably with us, black people, how, the medical field is, and our care. But Dr. Fields, come on, say hello to the audience.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here. I am an advocate for the people of our communities, and certainly for the residents who live in NYCHA public housing. And I have been, as you said, Saundrea, working with the Committee for Independent Community Action against privatization, and really to support and help and inspire the residents, as well as people who don't live in public housing, to join with and support people who live in public housing to have decent homes, and to address all of the many, many deep inequities and failures of NYCHA. You were just talking about the lack of heat, not having hot water, broken elevators. I work as a physician every day in the Harlem community, and I have many patients who live in NYCHA. I know about the issues of mold and asthma and moisture leakage and lead. We could talk about that. It's really unacceptable. There have been, fights. I mean, we want to maintain public housing as public, and we also want it to be improved and supported for the people who live there. And that's a big fight. It's a political fight as well as a advocacy fight. And so we could go into that. I think that we have to organize and join with folks from around the city, build a movement. We've been trying to build a movement, through Dr. Falani starting several years ago. Really, we first launched it. People were calling Dr. Lenora Falani. I'm sure people know, first woman and African-American to run for president on the ballot in all 50 states. I mean, we know Shirley Chisholm ran, but she didn't get past the Democratic Party. So she wasn't on the ballot in all 50 states. Dr. Falani ran as an independent in 1988. She was on the ballot in all 50 states. She qualified for matching funds. And she ran as an independent. Because she ran as an independent, she's often not recognized as a Black leader, a Black achiever, like this is Black History Month.
Come on.
And, recognize absolutely Shirley Chisholm, Dr. King, etc. Ida B. Wells, and so forth. But Dr. Falani should also be included in that. But she's not a Democrat or a Republican. She's an independent, and that's something that I think is very important to our addressing the conditions in which our people live, and transforming them and improving them, rather than depending on the powers that be. After all this time, after all these generations, they haven't done it. They haven't been responsive. It's really outrageous.
I just want to say she's my inspiration. I had the pleasure of working with Dr. Falani. That's the reason why I'm an organizer. She took me from being a rapper to a community organizer.
Wow. And
I'm now running as an independent, really in her honor. So I'm trying to pick up the footsteps of where she left off. So I have great respect for Dr. Falani. Great respect.
Thank you, Stan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And shout out to all the Seeker members. You all are phenomenal. I was with you all on a meeting on Monday. I believe you had a Zoom meeting. I was at the park, and Dr. Fields actually spoke twice at UES for BLM. So yeah,
Right.
Spoke just as well too. Yeah.
she's been a key
Yeah.
speaker.
Yeah, the purpose of SECA is the Committee for Independent Community Action is really to help people to organize. You know, Saundrea, I know you've been involved in the fight at Isaac's Homes to improve the conditions there. One of the strategies that we have, you know, organizing, bringing our voices out into the public. I'm so glad to hear about the mayoral forum. That's great. And we have to put pressure on the powers that be. And we can't, you know, there have been some times when we've been able to get out, like with legally, you know, in terms of lawsuits that have been helpful. The conditions in NYCHA are actually illegal. They violate safety and health standards. And there have been lawsuits in terms of asthma against NYCHA, the Baez versus NYCHA, the exposure in 2018 of the lead, the fact that NYCHA was not doing inspections, the city knew about it and didn't do anything about it, didn't even try to educate the families who live in NYCHA about what they could do to avoid children becoming exposed to lead, which is very detrimental to the health of you know, children. If they're exposed to lead, it affects their nervous system. As I know, the Eleanor Bumpers, who was on your show, I heard that show, she was talking about that. So these are, you know, really serious issues. And I think we ought to be standing up and marching. You know, Dr. Falani's led many marches. NYCHA says, get back. We say, fight back. That was our.
Come on, that's right.
Let's talk about it. Yes.
Bring it.
Bring that. That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's right.
So, Doctor, I wanted to ask a question. I know that we have the issues in NYCHA, and how do we, in my limited experience in this situation, and by the way, I'm Rock Logic. It's very nice to meet you, by the way.
Nice to meet you too, Rock Logic. Great to meet you.
It is a privilege.
Thanks for having me.
How do we sort of bring the whole, you know, because they have different coalitions. So how do we bring all the coalitions together to have sort of like one voice? And I'm gonna use a group of people, and I'm not being racist. I'm just saying, like the Hasidics, like the Jews, right? When they move, it is one fisted moves forward, which makes them a very powerful voting bloc. And it just feels like NYCHA, who we outnumber the Hasidics, you know, 10-1, right? But we don't have the same political voice. So how can we move that forward to make us all sort of one thing?
Well, you know, I think that's a great question. And I think we have to be able to come together. You know, the Black community, people of color, poor people, we have different views. We're a diverse, Black people are a diverse community.
Yeah, that's
people have different views. I respect that. I think that's a good thing. But we can come together, many more of us, and put pressure. You know, so we have gotten into the habit of just sort of depending on the Democratic Party. So, you know, we vote the same way and we get no results.
Yep.
You know, we're glad of the change, obviously, in the administration. You know, that had to happen. I'm glad that happened, but we have to go beyond that, because that's, you know, we've had Democratic mayors. I mean, Bill de Blasio, who set up he continued privatization, and he's, you know, been taking it further. And then, so we can't just think because we elect a Democrat that's going to make a difference. They have gotten us into kind of the habit, and in some ways, I think people have become very passive because they don't see change. They don't see that voting makes a difference. So let me just go over this, run this down. In the Democratic primary, there's a small percentage of people who vote in local elections and citywide. The exposure of NYCHA happened after de Blasio won his reelection in 2017. And then all this stuff came out about the lead. And, you know, the chair, Ola Sholatoya,
Right.
I'm not pronouncing her name right, but she was the chair of NYCHA. She had to resign because of this whole thing being exposed. And then they did some things. They put in place a monitor, and there was a court case, but nothing has, as far as I can tell, I can't see real changes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, Rock Logic, in answer to your question, I think we have not done enough in terms of being, frankly, independent, of not depending on the Democratic Party. I think more of us need to participate. We all need to join together and support each other and participate in the political process and but we can't do that by simply being taken for granted, which we are taken for granted again and again. So I think we have to come together. 700,000 people, something like that.
Right.
They're not all of voting age, but that's a lot of people.
That's
If
a lot.
all of us got, and we join with the people who are not in NYCHA who support us, which
Right.
we petitioned around the city, and many people from the Upper East Side to the West Side to downtown and Brooklyn, the Bronx, we could really bring this city together to stand up on behalf of people who live in public housing. I think that could bring us together. That call. A lot of people don't know what's happening in NYCHA.
That's
Right.
true.
100%.
Out more publicly, but still, a lot of people don't know that the city's trying to privatize and evict people. I mean, the RAD program and so forth, they have been leading to more and more evictions.
Yeah. I mean, and with such a powerful voting bloc, it's almost like, really, truthfully, we could actually be our own party. We
Yeah,
could actually be the One NYCHA party. There's the Democratic Party, there's the Republican Party, and then there's the One NYCHA party. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And what I like what you said is the result has been the same. We get a Democratic mayor, it's the same thing. We get a Republican mayor, independent, it's the same thing. So why wouldn't we stop, getting clubbed in the head and create our own thing that then we start putting people in office that truly have our interests? Because when these guys come in that suit and they're talking to you and they're already in the pockets of the developer,
yeah,
because that's what was happening with de Blasio. He was already down, right?
yeah.
And he did a bunch of clown stuff. When he
His
went
campaign.
when he went and he got arrested in front of Long Island College Hospital, and he said, we're not going to close Long Island College Hospital. But they were already ready to knock down Long Island College Hospital because it's waterfront property,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
This guy ran on our blood, sweat, and tears. He ran on the Black community. He ran on the brown community, the Latino. He
Yes,
ran
he did.
on that.
This
Yeah.
interracial marriage.
And we saw, oh, wow, look, he's married to a Black woman. He has interracial kids.
Yeah.
This is going to be great.
Son with the afro. That's how he got me. That's how he got me. That commercial.
And then at the end of the day, once again, we got clubbed in the head like baby seals.
Gotcha.
Boom. And
yeah,
here we are with the same fight.
Yeah.
right.
I
We
like
have
that.
to be able to hold them accountable.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was. Yep.
We're taken for granted. We can't hold the elected officials accountable.
Exactly.
They ought to be able to stand up and say no to
Mhm.
the real estate. They shouldn't be able to be in office if they're not responsive to us. They're
Right.
not accountable to us.
Yeah.
But they get away with that. So the part of what I'm working on doing is reforming the whole political process, because unfortunately, the parties, once you become a political party, even an independent party, you have to follow the rules that have been established for the major parties. And often those rules keep you from being really open. Like in New York, the primary is closed to independents. So there's like over 1 million independents, mostly people of color, young people, many of whom are independent, who can't vote in the primary. So we're locked out. We need to change the structure, because they've set up these structures that keep the majority of people from participating.
Right.
People who want to see change, who want something new. Many of the people involved in the Black Lives Matter movement, the young people, they want something. They're not going with this just, same old, same old. And so, but they can't vote in the primary in New York if they're independent. And now there's this campaign to get people to register into the primary, but I'm not doing that. I'm an independent. I think they need to change the process so we can participate, not us change our beliefs so we can fit into their corrupt, failed system.
There you go. I would like to add to that. We need, like what happened with the fudging of the numbers and not really with the past chair, she should be prosecuted. People should be going to jail for what's happening to residents and our kids in public housing. You know, a lot of people don't see it, but what's going on in public housing in NYCHA, that's an issue of environmental justice.
Absolutely.
And that is problematic because it's impacting our health, our living conditions. You know, people are becoming unhealthy. People that never had asthma has asthma and all these upper respiratory illnesses. And, you know, and then like our poor children are, you know, stricken with, you know, lead poisoning. And, you know, as a doctor, you can, the ramifications from that. But
Yeah.
I would like to see, you know, as I always talk about abolishing qualified immunity, you know, that we can sue the mayor, you know, we could sue him physically, you know, for financial, you know, money, you know, money.
Yeah.
But also, I would like to see people prosecuted. You know, I spoke about a couple of years ago at a presser. We are the new Flint. NYCHA residents, we are the new Flint.
Right.
And we need to be really, you know, talking about it, and it needs to be seen and it needs to be recognized, and we need to hold these elected officials accountable. We vote them in, but we need to have, I don't want to say our knee on their neck, but you know, our hands on them. You know, we really need to have our hands upon them and make sure they're do us right. We voted them in, and because we're the same people to vote them out.
Oh, you said it right. Hold on.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think that the city council is actually suggesting or actually discussing a bill to end qualified immunity. So I know that's being put up, and I hope they go through with that. It's like people should be going to jail, causing people to literally die in their apartments. It's outrageous.
And I would like to address, just so that you know, Doctor, that the chat room is live, and you're resonating in the chat room. So Cynthia Tibbs says the majority of seniors are intimidated by NYCHA, that they are afraid to speak out. Carmen Quiones says, yes, talk about it. We have to change it now, which is obviously what you were talking about. And Claudia says, we need better Democrats. We need better Democrats. And that's what's going on in the chat room.
Better people.
Right. Yeah, we need independent, you know, whoever, whatever their registration, we need them to be insurgent, to be connected to the community, and to work to bring the community in to the process and to transform the process. We need real transformation. We can't just go along with the same thing.
Right.
In terms of holding them accountable, we have some precedent. You know, it is a violation of the Disabilities Act, the Americans with Disabilities Act. People with asthma, with other medical conditions are covered under that act. And the court case, Baez versus NYCHA, was a case that was against NYCHA because of the issue of asthma, the mold and the environmental conditions that triggered and caused people to have asthma. So they came up with a settlement, and NYCHA was supposed to be responding immediately to any need for repairs, you know, for repairing mold and so forth. And I mean, we know they haven't done that, right? Nothing's happened.
Asthma, they still take forever to fix my stuff.
There is precedent to follow up with them. You know, they put together this Little Sisters of the Assumption in East Harlem, joined with a pro bono legal firm and other groups. They brought this case. They came to a settlement. But NYCHA has been violating the settlement, but nobody's, you know, where's that at? And also with the lead poisoning, these two cases, I testified in 2018. I testified. There were a lot of people in the courtroom, many people. I know Carmen Quinones, other people were there in that courtroom. We testified about the conditions. I spoke as a physician about the health conditions, and I urged the judge not to let NYCHA get away with simply letting the housing deteriorate to the point where they could argue that it needed to then be destroyed, that it couldn't be maintained. I mean, and that, you know, that's a horrible, horrible thing to let that happen. And there was, you know, so we have that kind of precedent to continue with. I don't know where that's at, but there is that, you know, to work on. That's not the only thing. We need to be in court as well as in the streets, as well as in the electoral arena.
Right. Wow. Facts. Mike, you have to say something, right?
Oh, I was saying that we need better people, period. Not just better Democrats, we need better Republicans.
Humanity. You talking about humanity, right?
We need better people.
I mean, Democrats was once the people that was against us at one point in time over 100 years ago, too. So, I mean,
there you go.
We need better people.
Big shout out to the room. Eleanor Bumpin, she's watching, and she said, you know what? I agree. Claudia says our water is now causing issues. Carmen gave you a shout out, Dr. Fields, by the way. She's on the chat.
Shout out to you, Carmen.
Our elected officials are in the pockets of developers. That's why, and that's kind of what we were talking about. So Tamika Mapp, Amen Rock, thank you. So yeah, the chat room's going. I mean, you are definitely striking a chord amongst the people.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that, we talk about the real estate, the developers, and the, but I think we have to hold the elected officials accountable. We didn't elect the real estate. They're doing, they have a business. We could, I think, intervene on that, but we need to, it's through the elected officials. They need to stand up. Why is it, they don't have to say yes to these, to real, and the real estate people could be incentivized to do innovation, there is the Green New Deal for public housing that
Yes.
Ocasio is pushing, which is, I think it's good. But how are we going to get that through with with the strength that the real estate lobby has? I mean, it would be a great public policy, and it shows you that if you could partner with well-meaning, people with a conscience in business and real estate, you could do some new things. You could come up with some new kinds of partnerships. But if we keep going in the same direction, that's not going to happen. I see that legislation. I was glad to read it and see it. And OAC, I think, is putting it forth along with others in Congress. So let's see. I think it deserves support. But the question is, will the Democratic Party in Congress support it? I don't see that. They're as much controlled by the lobbyists and special interests as everybody else.
Got you.
That's one of the issues. Yeah.
Well, I would just say to our community, for those candidates that are not taking real estate money, we got to support those candidates, to make sure that they can get the funding to run, because the finances really controls a lot. So I just urge the community folks, support those candidates, myself and others, who have vowed not to take the real estate money, because once you do, you're in their pockets. You're definitely in their pockets.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, which makes it so then now here you go, right? Double-edged sword gang, right? Because now here it is. You got to have matching funds. Your campaign is waning. You're not doing well. And then here comes the guy with the check. Here comes the guy with the check. And now you're going.
What you do, Stan?
You're running. And I think it's a great question.
You have to have principles. I'd rather lose and be true to myself.
Okay.
Right.
Take some money from somebody that I know once I take that money, I'm beholden. There's no way in the world
Are you though?
give me.
Are you?
I believe so.
Are you?
Some people may think that.
See, are you? That's an individual person, right? Are you beholden, right?
We all can use it. But I believe.
Right.
Take that money and tell him no.
I think
You got to be a viable candidate.
I'm gonna take a stand because
once it's spent, it's over.
Don't sell your soul.
I believe that the people will support. I believe the people will wise up and say, you know what? If we really want true leadership, that's really going to be about the community. That the community will rise up. So I'm hoping. I'm going to find out.
And you know what? I like the concept. I like what you're talking about, because here's the real deal, right? The real deal is, all my people in NYCHA, if you don't want, your candidate to be manipulated by big business and developers, then you need to start contributing to these campaigns that you feel that you believe in. And then guess what? That politician, that elected official, that candidate is now in your pocket.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And then that's another conversation.
$10 is not a lot to donate to someone's campaign.
How much is it?
$10 times 700, right? 1,000 residents, right? And that's what they have in figures. But we know some have left because of the RAD conversion. They're out of the portfolio. But there's a whole lot of people that are living in NYCHA that's not on the lease. Let's be real. So $10, we can, that's like about $1 million. And then the 8-to-1 match. Like, can you imagine if people were putting in from the few developments that you were dealing with, and other people that are, running for office. We can actually bring somebody into office.
We actually could bring somebody into office that is not beholden to the companies.
Yeah.
That's right.
But you got to understand, people, this thing is done and moved by people. It's moved by people. So if I'm running you know, and I'm trying to do something for the people, I need you also to support me. Could you imagine Martin Luther King standing on the steps of the Capitol with a sign that says equal rights and no one is standing behind him?
Right.
Yeah.
Look at him, be like, look at the kooky guy.
Right.
Who's the kooky guy with the sign? And no change would have happened.
That's right.
Right.
Every movement is moved by people.
Right.
Every
That's
movement.
really true.
And money is needed. And it's not like $10 that, you know, is a monumental amount of money. But when you add all that up with all those people,
Right.
politically, we are strong. It's happening.
We're talking about one time doing it $10. Some
Right.
people are generating, you know, they have it like they're paying into somebody's campaign every month.
Right.
We're talking about $10 one time.
One shot.
One time. That's how many cups of coffee in a month,
Right.
or
Right.
you know, I mean, you could save up if you need to, right? I mean,
Right.
if it's that serious, but $10, we, you know.
And then once again, you know, just to sort of pull the veil back for my people that are listening, you wonder why the ascetics have all that power. You wonder why the ascetics were able to take their mask off and run wild, and the police didn't club them to death
vote.
and all that, because they vote and they contribute to the candidates.
That's it.
And money talks. That's the deal. So they're like this. Oh, word? You want to be in office next year? Okay. All right. Act like you know.
Exactly
You know what I'm saying? And then anybody coming up behind it, that movement is so powerful that anybody that's even coming up behind them is like, you don't want to mess with that, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You got to deal with them. You have to deal with them. And doctor, please.
Well, I think that I agree with you that we have to build a movement. These changes take time, although we've been here 400 plus years, 401 years, right? Our 16.
Go ahead.
But it does, we have made some progress, some changes, obviously. I consider the fact that I can be a doctor due to the movement of our people, the civil rights movement, fighting for equality and inclusion. I remember that, think of that every day. And I want to continue that movement. One of the things that we have to do is, be close to people, like to work with people. Not everybody is ready to be active. I think, I believe in human development, and our people have been so beaten down in many ways. Not all of us, but many of us have, are despairing, are intimidated, like you were saying, by NYCHA. So I think we have to help people and work with folks and give them opportunities to grow and develop, to see new possibility. That's what the All Stars Project is all about. I'm on the board of the All Stars Talent Show Network. We work with young people from our communities and adults and families and philanthropists and business leaders. And we help the young people to go to see beyond what they have already seen, to look at new possibilities, to grow and develop and do internships. They get summer internships. Now, of course, they're all virtual. We use performance and play, as Saundrea knows, to help people step out of their comfort zone and do new things and discover, learn and be able to develop and grow. So I think we have to do that. That's really, people have to be nurtured emotionally. We need really human development and people building their capacity to go out on the street, talk to people, make, collect signatures, do different things, new things. I think that is so important. I think that's really critical for our people right now.
Absolutely. I was actually one of the All-Stars in a sense myself. That's how I got involved in activism, by rapping. Then Dr. Fly's organization kind of took me in and I developed into a community activist strictly out of that, So I've seen it work. It's a phenomenal program, phenomenal.
There's a lot more Stan Morrises out there we got to connect with.
Absolutely.
All grown up, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking in the chat room, and what do we have going on? We got Common for that's the city council. Is that what that says?
Yes.
Common for CUTY council. Donate at nycvotes.org.
Support.
She's promoting. That's right. You got to support. Also, Tamika Map, if you can add live in District 8. And exactly, people are traumatized. That's what Carmen said. And she's obviously a big fan, doctor, because she's like, preach, Jessie, preach. She's like on it. So that is so dope. So that's kind of what's going on in the chat.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
Yeah. We need to come together and support each other.
Absolutely. Claudia says, if you change parties, what happens to the funds raised under the Democratic Party for your campaign? I guess that's a
no,
question.
I can answer. You can still receive the funds. In my case, it actually gives you more time to raise funds, and you still could be in the matching program. You know, so there are benefits to it. There really are some benefits to it. It's not as difficult as you think.
Okay, great.
And you won't be in the primary.
I
so-
won't be in the primary,
Right.
so I let
So
those
you
guys beat each
definitely-
other up, and
yeah,
I'll be
and then
in
you
the
definitely
general
be
election.
standing. Okay.
Right, I'll be one left standing.
That time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stan will be left standing.
Stand with Stan.
Okay.
Stan.
Oh,
Awesome.
wow.
All right, continue.
Yeah.
Let me just put that on the charger, guys.
Can you speak a little bit more about how Dr. Filani got this whole thing started? Because now that I am running and it's seeing how difficult it is to get matching funds in one borough, to see how she did that in all 50 states
Yeah,
is incredible. You know, so can you talk a little bit more about how she was able to do that? Because
right.
an
Yes.
incredible
Yeah,
achievement.
it was. She was running in 1988, and she had a team of people, a multiracial grouping of people who volunteered. Some people took off, left their jobs for a period of time to help to go to Texas and Florida and different states to get her on the ballot. She was the first woman, first African American to be on the ballot in all 50 states. And it was an arduous campaign. The focus of the campaign wasn't, of course, that she was going to win. It was the focus of it was to reform the political process. It was Dr. Lenore Filani's Committee for Fair and Open Elections. So she was challenging fundamentally the way the two parties control the process. They control ballot access, who can get in the debates, how the issues are talked about. For ballot access, she had to collect something like 1.2 million signatures, where Democrats and Republicans get like 50,000 signatures to get on the ballot, in every state. In some states, it was very arduous. We had to go to court in some states to get on the ballot, but we did it. It was a lot of sweat, blood, and tears. A lot of walking around and staying neighbors. We would go to places. I was in Illinois and Chicago, and people went out to the Midwest, and we got support from the American people, from, communities. We would stay with people, go to the shopping mall to get signatures. And we had to go to court a lot. We had lawyers like Harry Kresge, who would help us. We had to sue to fight to get on the ballot. They would try to knock us off. And so we accomplished it, and it was historic. I mean, that's going to be that should be in the history books.
No, absolutely.
Get on the ballot and all
That
50 states. She
right
did
there.
it from the grassroots, ordinary people, going around. We supported each other, and she was a great inspiration. She was on local programs and speaking out. She went to a lot of college campuses, spoke at a lot of schools. She had lots of support from young people. So that's kind of how we did it. It was historic.
Awesome. I have at UES for BLM, as you spoke, I implemented something called Black Fact for this month. But it's something that's going to continue on, but it won't be every day, but I do it daily. I do the program. So I have a Black Fact. So I was going to do one on Dr. Filani on Saturday, but Greg Livingston didn't come. So I want him to be there since he's part of Chicago All-Stars. And, it just would solidify everything. So hopefully I will be doing the Black Fact on Dr. Lenore Filani on Saturday at the Vigil. So yeah, and a lot of the information you were saying, I was already digging up, she even ran for other offices as well. So yeah.
She did. She ran for governor in New York.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah. So I did a lot of digging. So, I'll do a little talk on her during the Black Fact. So she'll be featured Saturday.
That's great.
I remember seeing the campaign posters when I was a kid. So, yeah, absolutely. I was just too ignorant to understand what was happening.
Right.
When you're 15, 14, you don't really know what's going on. Or you see, okay, Black woman running for president, Black woman running for governor.
Right.
You don't really understand the significance of that, and I didn't. I was just talking the 80s. I was a kid. I didn't know.
Even her education, Columbia,
I mean, when you start to learn these things and you realize that, there are certain people that contributed to Black history that are not mentioned.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And should be mentioned, as the first, even the fact that really she's not even mentioned in what's happening now with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. You know,
Right.
she was the trailblazer for Kamala.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
She made the ballot. She
Right.
made
She-
all.
yeah.
She made the
Right.
ballots. All
Right.
50. She's the first to do that.
yeah, on her own.
Difficult.
Right,
That's
exactly.
really, really
All
difficult.
50 states. So
That's incredible.
that's what separates her from Shirley Chisholm as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Her
Right.
history's full. It's rich. Yeah. So
It is.
I just got to crunch it because it's not a full talk, you know, but I want to spend a few minutes, you know, of her.
Yeah, I
I like
appreciate
her.
that. That's great. Yeah, she would travel around, and you know, sometimes the reporters would ask her what was harder about her running. Was it that was black or that she was a woman? And she would say the hardest thing is that I'm an independent, and that was the hardest thing because you know the process is so dominated.
Yeah.
Right.
Parties you can barely participate in. More power to you, Stan. And you know, I think it's great. We have to keep running. It's hard. It's a hard trail, but we have to build it. Part of running is to build the road to bring our community along outside of the parties, and you know, to have a kind of inside-outside tactic. Actually, when she ran on two roads are better than one. So Jessie Jackson ran in the Democratic primary, and she said, if Jessie Jackson wins the primary, I'll support him, I'll withdraw. But if he doesn't, I'm running as an independent, because she had to petition while he was running in order to get on the ballot. It was two roads are better than one. It's an inside-outside tactic, which I think is still relevant. You know, we can do both. There are people who can run, who are insurgents. Cori Bush, who just won the election for Congress from St. Louis, Missouri. She's a real, you know, she worked with Black Lives Matter in St. Louis. She's an outstanding community person.
Minister,
She won. She's in Congress, but she's an independent. You know, she ran in the Democratic primary. She also supported a reform in St. Louis to open up the primaries to allow independents to vote, which passed by 68% of the vote in St. Louis, which is, you know, it's doing both going forward in every way that we can.
the long haul, but it's going to get there. The independents are going to get them. You think about an independent, right? Standing alone.
I'm always with the independents. I'm always with them.
Yeah,
Anybody that can deny the two masters, I'm always with them.
Right. There you go.
The other Mike Jones.
The other Mike Jones.
Another Mike Jones. You know, and I've got a question for you, and it's a little bit sort of left. It's a little different. And my question, Dr. Fields, is what is your opinion or your views, or what do you think about the new Republican Party nationally? I mean, what are your views on that? What do you like? You know, because I'm seeing the crazy stuff, and I just want to be clear. And I am a Republican. I am a proud Republican. I vote, but I vote my conscience. I vote my conscience. When Obama ran, I voted for Obama because I was like, listen, it's time to break the ceiling. You know what I'm saying? And I supported that. But as I am a registered Republican, actually, you know what I'm saying? So, and the party for me, I'm disappointed. I'm just letting you know, because there was benefits to it. But what are you seeing? Like, what are you seeing on your end? What are they talking about?
Wait a minute, who did you vote for last?
I voted Republican again. I mean, I voted Democrat again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Listen, once again, if you voted for Trump, you wasn't a Republican. You was a Trump publican.
So, so Rock, let me be clear about the question. You're talking about the fact that for in large part, Donald Trump has taken over the Republican Party.
Right.
I mean, some Republicans have left, and some have become independents because of Trump, and he's dominating the Republican Party right now. Is that what you mean? How do I feel about that?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And then the views of the Republican Party before Trump, like it was just different to me, you know.
Well, let me make a point here in terms of what we're trying to do. I think there are people. I don't demonize people.
Right.
Some people voted for Trump. They had different reasons. Some people, you know, racists and people who, you know, carrying the Confederate flag, you can't talk to. I mean, they're just racist, and they want to go back. They want to go backwards, you know, instead of forward. But there are other Republicans, people who voted for Trump. Some independents voted for Trump. You know, independents are very diverse. So I think we have to figure out how to come together and really build an environment where people can know each other. People in the white community can learn about what's happening in the Black community. They can learn about what it means for infant mortality and maternal mortality. There's a film, it's called The Reunited States, which is a non sequitur because we've never been united. The people of the country, we've never been united in this. We're the yet to be united United States. Right. But the film is trying to bring people together. I'll send it out to you, Saundrea, so you can maybe. Okay. But the whole issue, I think this is a big question you're raising at the end here, Rock Logic. But in terms of how are we able to build a multiracial democracy that's inclusive and that allows everybody to participate? I think a lot of people voted for Trump because they didn't like the Democratic Party, or they think in 2016, I think the reason that Trump won in the beginning was because people were so pissed off at the two parties. They're so pissed off that the Democratic Party, they wanted an outsider. They wanted somebody who was talking about shaking things up. And that was Trump. And a lot of people didn't vote. A lot of Black people didn't vote, and some people voted for Trump. That's how he got elected. So I think I think there are people who are Republicans, Democrats, Independents who we can build with, we can dialogue with. We need to build a new kind of movement in this country, and I think that we can do that. I'm open to having dialogues with people who disagree, who have different opinions, but want to come together.
Yeah,
I think by people of color.
I think just that electoral college part needs to be removed, and just squash the parties, one man, one vote, and let's see what happens. Let people run. I mean, do you really need the parties? Do you really need the parties when you think about it?
Yeah, the electoral college is one of those structures that needs to be removed, needs to be done away with. Why do we still have that? That's from slavery,
That's from slavery times, you know what I'm saying? And it's outdated and it's stupid, and then in reality, it really makes it that the popular vote doesn't matter, right? Because Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. Yeah. She won the popular vote, but the college went the other way. So what is that? What are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's that mean?
They control it.
Right, they control it. So you're 100% doctor, you're 100% right. That needs to go.
Absolutely.
That's old slave stuff, so
Yeah, and why haven't we gotten rid of that? I mean, people in general would support getting rid of that. What is it? Why do they keep that? What do we, it's one of those structural impediments. Also voting, registering to vote. Why can't people just register to vote more easily? How come all the primaries are not open? What's the problem? Why do they do this redistrict gerrymandering?
Oh yeah.
Why do they have districts that just go for one party or the other? All of that needs to be reformed. That's just the beginning.
Absolutely.
Right, I agree. I mean, I just think it should be just as simple. I can go vote. I'm a citizen of the United States, all right, and I can, I'll register, great, I'll register, but I should just be able to vote in any election that I feel like I want to vote.
Exactly.
Because what I thought it was, a lot of this stuff, and I'm gonna be frank and true, a lot of this stuff, I'm just finding out, like all these rules about how to vote and can you vote and you can vote in this, I didn't even know all that even existed, and it's disparaging and it's stupid, you know what I'm saying? You should be able to vote. I'm a registered voter.
Yeah.
I want to vote the primary. I want to vote for president. I want to vote for whatever.
Absolutely.
Right. For the role purging. Right? That has happened even in New York. People have been showing up in this general election. Had 2 residents that voted before. They weren't even on the roll this time. How is people being purged from the roll?
Right.
That are normal, active voters. I mean, but then dead people can vote, right?
Right.
You can't make this up.
But no, you can't. And which kind of brings me to a new thing that they're doing in voting. And I think you guys mentioned, I think Stan mentioned it or Saundrea mentioned it, where like you can vote, like you vote for
choice.
What's it called?
Ranked choice.
Like you vote for 3 candidates and
5,
then
I think it's 5.
Right.
So explain that. What is it? Oh, doctor, please explain it.
Yeah, it's ranked choice voting. I think, I supported it, but it's not enough of a reform. I mean, it's a sort of superficial reform. Why do you have ranked choice voting, but over 1 million people can't even vote in the primary? Right. They can't rank anything because they can't vote. It gets rid of the lesser of 2 evils. I mean, it's fine, so it takes out the problem of if you vote for the candidate that you really want, the candidate that you really don't want could win. You know, that whole, the lesser of two evils argument that,
Right.
you know, if you vote for an independent, it's a spoiler, and then, you know, somebody else will win that you don't want. So you rank your choices. So you have your first choice, who's the person you really want. Your second choice is the person you could support, you know, and then you don't choose the person you really don't want. So then the person who you really support, those votes, if they don't win, the votes go to your second choice.
Right.
So you don't, you know, you don't risk electing someone who you really, really, really don't want.
Yeah, who you
I mean, it really doesn't change. It's not transformative though. It ends up helping the middle of the road candidate who people think is okay. But the person who's more insurgent, more progressive, perhaps more radical, still doesn't win. It doesn't make that kind of a change.
Gotcha.
And we didn't even know that was happening. Like some people, I believe it was in the ballot a while back and people voted for. A lot of people didn't know.
Right.
Flip your ballots and understand your voter, you know, the ballots. You have to understand. A lot of people don't flip. A lot of people are not informed.
A lot
Gotcha.
of folks don't know that much about it right now.
Yeah.
So people are really concerned because they really don't know what's going on.
I don't care for it. I don't, but
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a pretty hip idea. I was like, okay, you know what? I got this third choice, and if that dude
But what
don't
if
make
you
it,
don't
then
like-
they get my vote.
what if you don't like number 3 and number 4 or 5?
Well, I wouldn't choose them.
Right,
I wouldn't
exactly,
even choose them.
exactly.
Yeah. I wouldn't even choose them. I'd choose my top 5 and be like, all right,
Yeah.
you know, I got 5 dice on the table. You know, I
I
got
might
something
just go
happening.
for
My numbers are
one.
going.
I know in District 26 where I'm at, it works for me.
Right,
There's
it's like how
people
many?
running. It's like 20-some people, so I get to choose
I got about 30.
the 1 or 2 or 3 that I like. So it
Yeah.
works in some cases.
I mean, what I also thought about is I thought that it prevented, like, you know, those candidates that are there to take votes away from other candidates. You know, they don't even care if they win or lose. They're just there to take votes away. You know, I thought it kind of fixed that problem. I thought. I mean, so that's
Yeah.
what I was.
It's good to be able to vote for more than one candidate, you know. It's good to be able to have more choices, which they did that in St. Louis. They passed approval voting where you can vote for as many candidates as you approve of, so that any one candidate wins more than a plurality, wins a majority. I mean, the primary part of the problem with closed primaries that lock out independents or people who are registered in a different party. Like in New York, if you're a Republican, you can't vote in the Democratic primary where all the action really is. So it lets everybody vote in the primary, then the top 2 vote getters go on to the general election. So you can't win an election. Like if you get 20% of the vote and there's a lot of people running in the Democratic primary, you get 20-25% of the vote, you could win. And then you could win the general election because you're on the Democratic Party line and you just win, but you haven't gotten the majority of the voters to support you. Most people voted for somebody else. So if you can change that by having an open primary of approval voting or even an open primary of ranked choice voting and just letting everybody vote and giving them more options. It's a much better, then people have to get a majority in order to win. The top 2 vote getters go on to the general election. So,
Gotcha. Excellent. Mike Jones. I just want to let you know that Mike Jones is sitting here on the left. You've seen Stan, and Mike Jones is a young activist. He's out there in Ravenswood. I don't know if you know, and he participates. Mike, do you have any questions or any statements?
Great to meet you, Mike Jones.
The other Mike Jones.
The other Mike Jones.
Well, to be honest, I'm over here learning a lot of stuff. I mean, I know about if, you know, the first person that and get the win, you know, the second person go. I know about all that stuff, but, you know, everything else is seeming and sounding kind of new to me too. So
can we talk about some of your activism and the things that you're doing in the community as a young person? How old are you?
I'm about to start feeling old.
All right, we don't want to do that. All right.
I will be 30 in May, to be
All
honest.
right, cool. Okay. So, I mean,
That's it?
That's it.
Oh,
yeah,
you
let's-
move-
I look that
you,
old.
you move like an old man. Joke.
I want to just talk about some of the stuff you're doing. real
Well,
quick.
I mean, you know, there's a lot of people out there that don't barely go outside like that. So me and a partner of mine named Lorenzo and the organization that we do in Ravenswood, we hand out food every Tuesday. We do that.
Nice.
Well, you know, it's been slowing down now since, you know, the snowstorm that's been happening. And we also, we was trying to do it every month, but then, you know, a lot of snowstorm and a lot of other things happened since Halloween. So we couldn't do the more events, but we do a Halloween event for the kids. You know, had them painted, gave out little I gave them some little block toys that they can build from Home Depot. You know, I gave a lot of them out. You know, they could build their little trucks, their little ships. You know, gave them little snacks. You know, like party bags. You know, I mean, I'm just trying to give out more opportunities for, you know, kids. You know, it's not a lot of opportunities for kids. Kids don't know things that how to survive. I mean, I remember when I was a teenager, I used to always get stopped by the police, you know, just for being a big black dude. I was, I mean, I was skinnier than what I am now, but, you know, I always was tall, you know, and I was, you know, you see a tall black man, you know, you start to get frightened. And,
Sadly,
a lot of people didn't know they Fourth Amendment mainly, you know, you can't just search me. I know a lot of police that dug in my pockets for no reason, you know. Dug in my pants for no reason. So, I mean, I had a cop literally dig in my pants, grab my balls, and said, I had a mace in my face. So he said a word, I would make you. And I'm like, what? And that was, I mean, a lot of people didn't know the rights that they know. Well, that I know now, I didn't know before. So, I mean, I think that would be a great opportunity for kids to know that they civil liberties. That should be a great opportunity, you know. But
Doctor, is there anything you could address with that in terms of how these civil liberties are being violated by our youth in NYCHA?
Well, we have had young people from NYCHA and different youth organizations that have come to the Committee for Independent Community Action that have worked with us. We welcome them. I think that they, you know, there are all these rules that NYCHA has, you know, that put young people at risk in different ways. You know, the person gets into trouble, they can't come to their family, they can't be on the grounds and so forth. So we welcome the young people. You know, as I said, the programs that we have, the All Stars Project, it helps the youth to get support to come out, to develop and grow and learn. So I would be, you know, interested in working with youth through the All Stars Project, and of course the issue of criminal justice reform and, you know, trying to change that whole situation. I think that the way to address it is to help young people have opportunities, is to increase quality, you know, employment, young people going into professions. I became a doctor. Part of what I wanted to do was to encourage young people in education to you know, to pursue their dreams, become artists, you know, professionals in healthcare, lawyer, whatever. You know, there are a lot of different things that need to be opened up to our youth, and so they can fulfill their dreams. That's part of our work.
And I think that one of the things, because you mentioned healthcare, and I remember at the debate, well, it wasn't a debate, but the forum that we had, the mayoral forum that we had, someone did mention something to that effect, almost like, you know, an avenue for them to obtain jobs by training. And it's not that far fetched, because I'm gonna tell you something. If you remember, when we went to school, there were specialized high schools for trade schools that you went to that directly fed you into a job. Dodge was known for nursing, right?
Jane Addams too,
right? Was nursing, and then there was the other one that was in Compass was mechanic,
automotive.
You know, so we had all these specialized high schools that prepared us, and you know, trade schools that prepared us for the world, so that we can join the workforce. Really, basically out of high school.
That's true. Jane Addams said cosmetology, nursing, business. Yeah, they didn't just have nursing; they had other.
Right, and I think so I don't really think that the idea is that far fetched to be reintroduced into our communities. And whether if we have to do it ourselves and create these programs that they're being trained in the centers, you know, in NYCHA, or how it has to happen, you know, I just think that they robbed us of that, right? They took that from us, and now you're mad that we're criminals, right? Or alleged criminals, or that we, you know, or we operate like, okay, listen, I ain't got no money, I got to do something.
Exactly.
Right? Versus us expanding the minds of children. Because, you know, I was blessed. The first time I saw, you know, a DJ on a set of turntables, I want to do that. And then in my school, junior high school, 123 in the Bronx, they had a radio station in the school. Wow. And once you reached 8th grade, you did an internship at 7, and then 7th grade, and then 8th grade, you were on the air. And you knew everything about running a radio station. And then they took us actually to WABC, which was like the #1 station at the time in New York City, top 40. And I saw that and I said, I want my life to be in entertainment. I want to be in broadcasting.
Preparation, yeah.
But if we are not exposing our youth to that, if we're not showing them the different things. You know, you don't have to be a rapper. You can be a cameraman. You can be an engineer. There's other things that don't have a timestamp on it. You can be an engineer until the day you die, but you can't rap until the day you die, right? Because your fans grow up with you, and then you no longer communicate with the youth, right? And I just think that we need to institute programs like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, with the talent show, the All Stars Talent Show Network, before the pandemic, All Stars was doing talent shows all over the city. And the young people not only perform, they handle the lights, the sound, the music, you know, engineering, the DJing, and they love that. So, you know, that we're doing it virtually now.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I want to also highlight Dr. Fields, what Dr. Lenora Falani has done, and you can probably speak about it, the Operation Conversation, Cops and Kids.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very, and also I believe the Police Academy has implemented something, part of it in their curriculum maybe some years back. I believe it's still active, but can you speak to the Operation?
Yeah, I could speak to that. It's Operation Conversation, Cops and Kids. It started when Sean Bell was killed in Queens, and Dr. Falani had been both working with young people through the All Stars, and also knew a lot of police officers because she was out on the streets in Crown Heights. She stood between the young people and the police to try to, you know, encourage and support and demand, yelling at the young people not to be violent. And she did make a difference out there that day. Anyway, so when the killing of Sean Bell happened, she started this program, Operation Conversation, and what they did workshops using performance, helping young people and police, because they're out, you know, the young people are in the communities and the police are out, you know, they're out there together. So how do they relate to each other? There's a lot of antagonism, obviously. And so this was an effort to have the police and the young people see each other as human beings, to see what they had in common. And it was with rookie, you know, new police officers doing workshops using performance, you know, and like having 10 young people and 10 police officers sitting together, police officer, young people, young person, police officer, you know, mixing it up and playing games, doing skits, to break the ice, and then having frank conversations about what they were seeing. So they started doing those. Some publicly were done at the Apollo and at the Police Academy. And the All Stars recently was honored by the Jets, the New York Jets.
Nice.
And received a large donation, $250,000 to in part in support of this kind of work. And the mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka, has been interested in doing it. They did some of it. I'm not sure where things are at. Everything is topsy-turvy now with the pandemic and all that's happened, you know, right now. But that was Operation, you know, it will continue in some form. We're also implementing it, Operation Conversation, broadening it to bring together people from different communities in a performed, scripted conversation, breaking the ice. You know, people from our communities, Black and white, Jewish, you know, Asian, Latino, rich and poor, to be able to have dialogues, to learn about each other, you know, in a way. So it's been expanded in that way.
Thank you. And talking to you about that, you know, and in my mind works crazy. It's crazy, right? But the negative with the police and the youth is always on the front page.
Yeah.
Shot. Da, 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 da. But all that work that you just talked about, I ain't never seen it in the media.
Right.
I have never seen it in the media. And I'm like, why aren't we promoting this? Why isn't that on the front page? You know, like that, you know, the game,
how it's safer.
Yeah, right.
Commissioner how it's safer. That's how back it goes.
The game is fixed. You know, as soon as a Black youth gets shot, front page, automatic. We do something good for our Black youth, we don't hear about it.
Absolutely.
We don't hear about it.
Yeah.
You know,
media is tied into the establishment, you know.
I mean, yeah.
As everybody else. Fortunately, we have media like you. You know, we're getting out of that. You know, we can go beyond the mainstream media, but that's part of it. But I think that's a good question. How come this isn't broader, and like, how come this isn't a program that's out there?
No, it's not known.
It's not
Yeah.
known, and and
Yeah,
that's why we do the show. That's why we do the One NYCHA show, to really, like, talk about, and we talk about everything. We talk about, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything in between. But the point being is, we always want to promote, like, these programs. And how can people get involved with the All-Star program? Or is it a website they can go to?
yeah, it's www.allstars.org. This Saturday, which I'll share with you, Saundrea, I'll send you the email. You can send it out. I'm doing we're celebrating Black History Month. I'm doing a virtual Zoom session on James Baldwin and Aretha Franklin. It's an hour and a half. So much material that you could cover it with them. But the All Stars does regular virtual programs with young people. We're still doing the after school development with youth internships, and that program is going well. It's all virtual now. Working with teenagers. The talent shows are still being done. We're doing as much as we can. We come up with some new programs doing virtually. So there's a lot. Yeah, the talent show. So I can send you, every week they send out a list of programs that are happening. And there's some things that are organized that will start in March and so forth. But that's
Awesome.
that's still going on. And the talent show is national. We're in 6 cities, but with Zoom, people are being involved from all over the country. So it's a national program.
Amazing.
All right, well, Doctor, listen, you've been awesome, and we ran over the time. We normally just do an hour. We had like an hour 10. I mean, you had so much information, and you were a fantastic guest.
Yes.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I mean, you really nailed a lot of points. And I know we moved around a lot, and I appreciate your flexibility in in us having these conversations. And I'm going to bid you an adieu. Is there anything you want to say? Any last words?
No, thank you. I appreciate being on, and love and respect and solidarity to all the NYCHA residents in our communities. And we're with you, and we'll carry onward.
All right, that is the best. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for coming on. We appreciate you.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you so much. Take care. Stay strong. Stay safe.
All right. So yeah, I mean that was just dope.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I had a good time with that.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed talking to her because it was sort of a conversation. We just kind of moved through different topics.
That's what it was going to be, right?
And it was wonderful.
It was good. NYCHA residents, we are impacted by everything. We are not just living in the NYCHA developments. We're essential workers and everything. So it's like every little thing. That's why every guest we bring on is vital to our audience, to our viewers.
Right.
So even if we don't, like when we brought the Reverend on, right?
Yeah.
We didn't really go. I don't even know if we did our week that day, but still, we was able to give information to our viewers, and that's what it's about. Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
I'm glad they got to hear more about Dr. Falani.
Yeah.
So that really was good.
Yeah.
Her name got out there. People probably
that was
don't know
dope.
who she is, but now they know.
I'm gonna see if
All right, that's a bet. So next week, what's the show about next week?
Well, I just got to double check Alfonso Seville. I hope I'm saying his name right. He's living in a homeless shelter. So
Okay.
Is that the I Am Queens guy? No.
No.
Somebody else.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's gonna.
I'm glad you're covering that topic.
Because it's very important, because when you think about NYCHA and when the eviction moratorium is over, some people sadly may be homeless, if they put people out on the street. So, in any aspect, right? People are, suffering during this pandemic, and it's a crisis, the homelessness. And then people don't realize that so many of these expensive buildings have apartments that are vacant.
Yep.
And they're just writing that off.
Yep.
And there's people living on the streets.
Yep.
So,
Wow, that's a 10-year waiting list. A 10-year waiting list.
That's crazy.
to mold and mildew and lead. Yeah.
So we're gonna get ready to punch out, and just for the heads up for future things that we're doing. We're expanding the One NYCHA brand, the One NYCHA family. We're gonna branch out and do some stuff, but when it's all ready and put together, right? And I got the commercial and the new set and all this other stuff with these other things that we're going to bring to the table. That's when I'm going to release that. And that is going to be so heavy, so big. because now we're reaching out to other communities to, bring this thing together.
Official announcement.
Official announcement. We're going to put it together. I'm going to get it done and do the work that has to be done.
We.
We're going to get it done. We're going to punch in. It's going to be dope.
Absolutely.
And I'm really excited about it because, to expand the brand, to bring One NYCHA, to be One NYCHA, we got to be One NYCHA. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we are. So we'll catch y'all next week, 4:00, same bad time. Big shout out to the intern.
Yes.
What is the name again? Nakama. Right on. And, you come up on the air and whatever, and, we're gonna do that, all right?
Some paperwork.
So we'll see you soon.
One NYCHA, one people.
One NYCHA, one people.
Yeah.
Did you see we got them to do that at the debate?
Yeah, that was good. All right.